Well, hello, everybody.
Woo! That was epic.
Wasn't quite epic. It wasn't exactly, but I thought I was going to have, sorry, but I tried to do it this morning and I realized if there's something I wanted to have as more of a story theme,
Right.
but I was like, listen, how can I encompass everything that we are at, Bitten Apple TV, the cons, the comics, the graphics, all of that other kind of stuff. So I just threw something together. I mean, we are going to have a better, intro, but I said, let me just upgrade it just a tiny bit, so that we can, say that we were doing something while we were on hiatus. I know you were still working. I know you were still doing stuff, but anyway, hello everybody, and welcome to the Bitten Apple Presents Apple Bites. I am Les, aka Sister Slayer, and this is Ralph Tavares and the Written Writ Ralph. We are so excited to see you all. Happy fall, everybody. We are back in syndication, I guess. Is that what you could say?
I guess we are syndication, yes, and we are back, and it's great to be back for season 2.
Yeah, for season 2, yes. I hope you all have had a wonderful summer, and getting ready to have an even more exciting fall. It's our favorite time of the year, which is the beginning, Halloween, fall, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. This is like it. So we are so excited about this time of year, especially me for Halloween. So, that's my thing. And right now we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, which is going on from September the 15th until October the 15th. I don't understand why they put it in the middle of the month, do you?
I was wondering because it felt like all of a sudden it happened because it wasn't there, and all of a sudden it was there, and I'm like, wait, what? And then I was thinking, didn't we just do some Hispanic stuff recently?
I think we did, didn't we? Maybe it was just a day in particular.
I could swear, like on May, right before Pride, was kind of Hispanic.
Every day is Hispanic, honey.
At least for me, it is.
Yeah, for you it is. Every day is Indigenous and Black for me. So that, that's just a funny thing. That's a really funny thing. But I am so excited to see you. It has been a long time. I miss you all still. I know you've still been doing some of the cons and everything.
Yeah, we finally, it's kind of weird because I don't know how I feel about the whole thing because, the whole COVID thing is still around. Mm-hmm. But I've been putting my foot in the water, trying to figure out how we're going to do the cons. I don't think what we were doing is going to work for the moment. Mm-hmm. So I got to figure something else out. And if you guys in the audience want us to cover the conventions a different way, because I don't know if the live interviews at the convention is a good idea. What's happening though is that when I go to the conventions, I set up interviews for the show, which works us out. And I feel like it's more, you get to know the people that we're interviewing better when we do the live show instead of interviewing them on the floor.
Right. I agree. And when we're on the floor, they're busy. They're trying to sell their merchandise and stuff like that. And I agree with you. I mean, not everybody can, use the same mic. It's not going to be, hey, Angel.
Son of a.
Too. Yes, son of a. You're one of our favorite people too. So yeah, I mean, unless you can actually wipe that mic down after each interview and everything like that, it's definitely just not. I don't care if you have a mask on or not. It's just you just can't do it. We're still in that time, and it's going to be some whiles. We don't know people's their what their status is. I know that for New York Comic Con, which is coming up in the second week of October, I think, which we're hopefully all attending.
I've been able to finagle, and I'm still working on a couple things to make sure we get in like I usually do. Yeah. But we're all going to be there. I'm just trying to figure out if we're going to all be there every day. So let's see what happens.
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about the fact that every year we put in to do New York Comic Con, and I would say that we have a pretty big fan base.
We do.
We always get denied, and I think what happens is that we're not big enough.
So I completely agree with you. I feel like even though we have a good following, I feel like they decide. But at the same time, it kind of bugs me out because there are times, and I understand they have to give other people chances to get the press passes and whatnot. But there's times where I'll run into somebody who has less coverage than we do, and they're in as press.
I think we need to know somebody.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I think that's our next goal, is to get to know somebody so that we can get in and start covering other stuff. I mean, I'm just, whatever. We do appreciate those who do ask us to be at the cons. We do
Exactly.
appreciate you all. And, the New York Comic Con is not the end all to beat all, and so we appreciate everybody that asks us to do coverage. But I just feel like that's one of the biggest events of the year here in New York City, and they should be letting all kinds of press in. I don't,
Yeah,
your status has nothing to do with it. There are people who still want to see that coverage, and may not be tuned into the particular media people that you have representing.
exactly.
So, I don't know. I think it needs to be rethought, actually. So, are you going in costume this year?
That's a good question. Because most likely I'm going to end up with a couple of tickets that are my own, and that changes my coverage. Because if I'm going as press, then I feel like I'm going as press. If I'm
Yes,
going as Ralph, I feel like, hey, if I'm Ralph and I'm not really going as press, I can do whatever I want.
that's the thing. I'm definitely gonna do cosplay this year.
Well, I
I'm
love
definitely gonna do
your
it.
Dark Phoenix. That was fantastic. I love that skit we did while you were Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, we're gonna have to think of how we're gonna do my new skin. I have been collecting my costume. Oh, Angel says I've got nothing but press and artwork out there in various industries, but I was waitlisted for Artist Alley.
And I've been hearing that too, that a couple people that have been trying to get into the show.
What in the Angel's good?
Yeah.
Okay, we still fans. You don't need that. We still love you. So
Oh, we love Angel's work.
yeah.
It's funny. Recently, speaking of Spanish and Indigenous heroes, he worked on a piece for somebody, and it was a Taino superhero.
Ooh, I gotta see that. I gotta see that. I'm
It
all
was
about the
fantastic.
indigenous.
And
Yes.
it looks badass. It has this feel. It feels different. It doesn't feel like, oh, it's a hero done in another skin. Angel was able to actually bring in that Taino feeling to it.
We definitely have to do a day where we're talking on the Bitten Apple about indigeneity. Next month, November, actually, not October, not November, is Native American Heritage Month. So we definitely need to bring in that element to discuss the underrepresentation of that, quality of people that live here in the United States in comics and movies, etc.
Completely
But
agree.
so if we are talking specifically about this being a Hispanic Heritage Month, let's talk about one that we all know about that we're very proud of, and let's La Borinqueña.
Oh my God,
And
yeah. Hmm.
I'm going to bring you in so we can actually show, if people don't know who she is and who he is, our guy.
Oh, there she goes. I love that cover. I mean, I love that whole joint thing that they did with Abor in Kenya and DC to bring
Yeah,
awareness to the hurricane in Puerto Rico.
yeah. So La Borinqueña, and it's so funny when I interviewed him. Remember, I could not say that name for the life of me. Y yo
I
hablo
totally forgot about
español. Yo
that.
lo hablo y yo lo hablo bien. For some reason in the interview, I could not say that word.
I think it's funny that you actually have a Dominican accent.
Yeah, yeah, and have lived a Dominican life for many years. For many years, I'm glad I never got it. It never got really outed about that, about being Dominican. If you are laughing about this, it's funny. It's because when I was a flight attendant, my first flight that I ever flew was to the Dominican Republic. And it's really big when you are from a certain country, especially what somebody considers to be an impoverished country, that if you make it big, like a flight attendant or something like that. So I'm speaking Spanish, and everybody wanted to know where my family was from in the Dominican Republic. And I was taking so long. I was taking so long with my service trying to explain to people that I was just a Black girl who was Black, Indigenous, and European, and they wouldn't believe me. So my friend who's Dominican that was flying on the flight with me just said, "Tell them that you're from Santiago. Everybody's from Santiago." So
Exactly.
that's what I did. And somehow, some way, it was told throughout my base when I was based at JFK that I was, oh, Leslie, she's the Dominican girl. So I just was like, okay, I'm just Dominican, So I would just say, yeah, I'm Dominican. But I tell you, I miss it there so much because I used to travel there. I miss it, and I miss Puerto Rico so much too, because those were like my home away from homes, my friends, everybody that was there. I had serious, yes, La Capital, exactly.
Exactly. Everybody's from Santiago, la
Everybody's from
capital.
La Capital.
Primos.
Yes. Everybody's from there. So nobody ever even questioned me when I said I was from La Capital. They were like, ay, qué bueno, tú eres dominicana, qué bueno. So that was really exciting. But they thought that I was from Santiago. And they never actually pronounced my name Fry. They would say Frille. ¿Cuál es tu apellido? Es Frille? Frille.
That
I
makes
said, sí,
sense.
Frille.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it was funny. But anyway, we want to shout out to Mr. Miranda for the creation of La Borinqueña, because her representation and what she's bringing in to the identity of the people who live in Puerto Rico, the island of Puerto Rico, the mixture of people that live there. I got some hilarious stories. I'll have to tell you about those one day. The mixture of people that we have in the island of Puerto Rico, the representation of that,
Mm-hmm.
Let's actually talk about that real quick before we get into bringing in our first guest. I have to say this. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but the island of Puerto Rico just protested putting up a statue of Columbus in Puerto Rico. So apparently somebody created this huge statue of Columbus and they wanted to plant it in Puerto Rico.
That doesn't make any sense. It
Wait
makes
a
sense
minute.
only because he was there in the islands, but he's not considered a hero in Puerto Rico or the Dominican Republic.
He's not considered a hero to anybody who's indigenous, not even to America, maybe to the Italians because they don't really know his true story. But the thing is this, he wasn't even Italian. People don't know that. The dude was not Italian. He was actually a Sephardic Jew. And the thing is that he had to prove himself as a Sephardic Jew to the Queen of Spain at that time. And so what he did is he was a mariner, and that he petitioned himself to go and discover new places for her, because you understand how the Jewish people were treated in Spain and Europe during that time.
Exactly.
Yes, but he ended up being jailed for all the atrocities that occurred while what he did. He enslaved the indigenous. He did horrible, horrific things to them. And he died a penniless man. And people don't realize that part. They don't understand that aspect of it. They only see him as a hero, but he definitely was not a hero. So anyway, getting back to that. So the island of Puerto Rico, they wanted to put this huge statue of Columbus in Carolina. And it somehow is going to affect how the flights were coming into the airport.
Wow, that's how big it was?
Yeah, it was huge. But that's not the point. The point is that they did not want that statue there. And that's one thing that you don't do, is you don't mess with the Puerto Rican people. So a friend of a friend, and we're going to tell that story later. She is the cousin to Elder Nightwolf, who I produce his show.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote a letter to the King and Queen of Spain, and they answered back.
Interesting.
So that's a whole nother story, but that statue ain't coming there, by the way.
Well, it makes total sense that it's not. I know the Dominican Republic has that fight with where Columbus is actually buried, but I don't feel like he's in the place where he was before. He's not that hero that he used to be.
He was not buried in the Dominican Republic.
That's the fight. And they're like, oh, he's here, and then I think wherever he's supposed to be, they're like, he's over here, and they're both fighting over where his bones are.
Okay, who cares right now, honestly? But anyway, so let's talk about our first guest coming in. So we have a beautiful young lady that's coming in who is a singer and a songwriter. She's from Mount Vernon, New York. Her name is MEGHAN Irving, and MEGHAN was raised in Naperville, Illinois. Okay, girl. I don't know. She was from the Midwest. I was born in Alton, Illinois. So she is a former model from Barbados. Oh, now wait. let me get up and walk away now. Because not only is she's a former model she's Bayesian, which my husband is Bayesian. Oh, we got, shoot. This is different. This is something. And her father is a musician turned minister and businessman. Both our dads musicians too. We have a lot in common. She has a unique blend of music played throughout her life, and that kind of lends to her style of music that she creates, which is absolutely beautiful. She has a most beautiful voice. I've actually looked at some of her videos, and I have to tell you, there's nothing like her, honestly. So without further ado, we're going to bring her in, Miss MEGHAN Ergon, coming straight from my favorite place, one of my favorite places, which is Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, coming to you live from Dunkin'. But thank you for the lovely intro. That's great to hear that we have so much in common. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I had no idea you were Bayesian. I didn't know you were born in Illinois, girl.
Yeah,
honestly.
That's so
awesome.
My mom is the Bayesian side, and then my dad's from New York. So, but yes, I love Barbados. I've been going there almost every year since I was like born. So it's like my second home. It's amazing there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous in Barbados. I mean, it's definitely the last time I was there, it's actually becoming very overdeveloped now. We have a lot of people buying land there, but you can't say that it's still a gorgeous island with gorgeous people. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
I married a Bayesian, so,
Okay, so yeah.
Never knew that was going to, be where my husband was going to come from, but I love the island.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So tell us about some of the music that you created and some of your influences that influence the style of music that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of like you were saying in the intro there, because my mom is Bayesian, and when she was growing up there, it was heavily, I guess, ruled and influenced by the British. So she grew up on all British culture. So like British rock and like rock and roll and all that stuff was really what the music that she loved, along with like reggae. And of course, the music that makes, the Caribbean and the West Indies. While my dad, he was really into like gospel, jazz, the Motown, like Michael Jackson, all of that. And so I kind of had both of those influences coming together where and of course I'm a 90s baby, so pop music and like Britney and Christina and Spice Girls, that was my everything growing up. So it was really like the rock elements from my mom, the more like soulful elements from my dad, and then there's like pop from my childhood. So kind of all of that made me love all those types of music. And my biggest thing was I don't want to be pigeonholed to only sing and create one type of music. I want to be able to kind of have that genre fluidity. So artists that I also really love kind of do that same thing. Like Michael Jackson, for example, has songs all over the spectrum. Rihanna, I love. I think she has like EDM dance songs, but then she has a piano ballad and like, she's all over the place. And I love Beyonce as well. Those are another, she's just triple threat, can do no wrong. So those are probably some of my biggest artists that I really like, just love and look up to, and kind of where my sound developed, I think.
What have you found that while you have created your style of music that people have tried to pigeonhole you into a type of creativity? I find that a lot of times what happens in the entertainment business is that they don't know the individual internally. They only see your appearance. And so they're like, oh, you're going to sing this type of music or you're going to play this type of character. Have you found that to be the issue with you when you've been, and like representing yourself?
Yeah. And I think it's also been something that's kind of something that I've tried to not have affect my decision making in the music that I put out, because I think as a woman of color, a lot of the time they say, oh, you're R&B, like you're this, and they just kind of put you're urban, they just kind of put you in that category automatically. And even if you look at artists out in the industry, big name artists, if you look at like Ariana Grande, you listen to her type of music, that could potentially be R&B or urban, but it's pop. Why is it labeled pop? If she was a Black girl, it probably would be called urban, So it's kind of just the way they kind of label you based on your appearance, which is frustrating, and that's why there's another artist that I really loved growing up. She's Canadian. Her name was Fifi Dobson. I don't know if you, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
She's another one that I loved growing up because it was so rare to see like a Black girl doing like rock, kind of like pop rock music. And I was like, what? This is awesome. So that's kind of just given me like, just seeing that, and then just kind of seeing, or I guess just kind of talking to people and friends and supporters, just saying, you know, you don't feel like you have to sing a certain type of music just because you look this way or because people think you should. You know, it's okay to kind of just push the envelope a little bit and do what feels right to you and what you're inspired to do.
Yeah, I think that what have happened a lot of times that people in the industry, and we've heard these stories before, where they've made them, they created them. Let's say, for instance, Whitney Houston. Whitney didn't want to sing that type of music. She didn't want to she wanted to have more of an urban feel. But when the music industry got her, they said, we're going to refine you. You're going to be this. And this was the antithesis of who she was as an individual. So she was very conflicted throughout her whole career. And if you think about it, if you think about how when you see her perform, if you you see her singing, she really isn't happy because she's not doing what she wanted to do, what she loved to do, or not living the way that she wanted to live. What has been the response that you've gotten when you have performed? What have people said? And have you been approached by any record labels as far as big record labels, as far as wanting to develop you as an artist? What do you think about that?
Yeah. And, you know, when it comes to labels and things like that, I think as time goes on, artists are realizing that they're not 100% necessary anymore to get heard or to do anything really. Like a lot of artists are just like independent or they're doing like smaller labels or like indie labels so that you have a little bit of extra capital to work with or little extra relationships and exposure to help things move along. But it's not necessarily 100% needed to have like the biggest label ever behind you. And sometimes when you're a new artist, that can also be detrimental because if you're on a huge label with huge names, they get priority. And so you're kind of like shelved and they're like, oh yeah, we'll get to you. But, you know, Ed Sheeran's got an album coming out. So, you know, we got to work on his stuff, you know? So I guess, and for me personally, I haven't necessarily had like the big majors or anything like that, any relationships with that come forward. For me, it's really been a lot of more like management and like agents and like musicians and like kind of stuff to kind of build out a team of people to work with when it comes to like creating the music or, you know, not even just with music, but I did like a web series. So like acting stuff and like things like that, just kind of like expanding the portfolio, if you will. And to answer your first question, when I'm performing and things like that, I think the best feeling is when complete strangers, because your friends, you would kind of hope that they would tell you great job regardless. But when it's complete strangers that come up and they're just like, I felt so connected to that song meant so much to me that like, because I mean, saying you have a great voice is an amazing compliment, but it's also a little bit deeper when they're like those words that you wrote really like, I felt that in my spirit. I can relate. Oh my gosh, it made me emotional. Like, and that really is just like the best feeling ever. And it's just like, okay, I'm doing something good. Like, all right. And it just gives you a little more confidence to just keep going, especially when you're feeling discouraged. You're like, oh, why am I doing this? All this work, like all this time and energy. But when people are just like, oh, that just like impacted my life, you're just like, oh, okay, amazing.
And that's what artists do. What they do is they change people's way of thinking. They show people another side of life. Yeah, there's usually isn't any money in it, but the rewards that you get and receive from just being able to touch people's lives in that most intimate part of who they are is, you know, it's priceless.
Yeah, that's everything, really. It's amazing.
You would hope to make money, yes,
right.
But if you
money
don't,
wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. Money wouldn't hurt,
right?
But to know that it's actually affecting somebody in the way that you meant it to do to be, that's more than you can ask for.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna actually show one of your performances. Let's do Control first. We're gonna show Control, and then we're gonna talk about it after we watch it. Okay, great. So let's pull you up here.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it. All these plans that I made are forsaken. Overthinking so much. much that it's taken me to a place that I don't wanna be at. Stressing my chest to reflect that have to plan for a future that I can't see. I'm not trying to change you, just trying to change me. Until this arrest consistently pressed, cause my mind won't let me be. It's all about control. Can't seem to let it go. Trying to push it all down, but it comes right back. Got to live in the now, but I'm thinking like that. Want to control, and it's taking its toll. Trying to keep control. Wanna know how it ends, so I don't have to worry. Can have my vision for the future all blurry. Got another voice telling me to take a breath. Won't be a surprise if I thought of it first. If I'm over prepared, nobody can get hurt, and I will be fine if the lights stay aligned with the motherland. But it don't work that way. We don't always get a say. Until this duress consistently stressed, cause my mind won't let it rest. It's all about control. Can't seem to let it go. Trying to push it all down, but it comes right back. Cause I live in the now, I'm thinking like that. Want to control, and it's taking its toll. Trying to keep control. Wanna release my expectations, just to learn to have a little patience. Eliminate this fixation. I know, it's all about control. Can't seem to let it go. Trying to push it all down, but it comes right back. Got to live in the now, but I'm thinking like that. Want to control, and it's taking its toll. Try to keep control.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes.
Wow, girl, the control you have over your voice.
Thank you. Thank you so
the
much.
Riffs.
Thank you so much.
Have you had any formal training?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely took vocal lessons growing up, kind of like off and on, not consecutively for like 10 years or anything, but I definitely would take lessons off and on growing up throughout school. And like, I did a lot of like theater camps. I did a lot of musical theater. I was in a lot of choirs. So I think all of that definitely kind of helped for sure.
So what was the inspiration? What drove you to write those lyrics about this particular song?
Yeah,
where were you when you wrote that?
This song I actually wrote, and the whole project I put out earlier this year was all written during quarantine, during the lockdown, when the pandemic really was at its like ultimate peak. And so I'm somebody, I mean, I don't know if anyone's into astrology, but I'm a Virgo, and I'm a Virgo sun, moon, and rising. So I'm a triple Virgo. If you know anything about Virgos, that tells you something.
That's my rising sign, actually. So Virgo's my rising.
Hey, Virgo rising. So I'm a little bit of a control freak and a perfectionist, and I like everything to just go a certain way. And I plan and overanalyze everything. And so when the pandemic hit and everything was closed, everything was canceled, everything was shut down, nobody knew what was going to happen over the next few weeks, months, the year, like everything was just so, what's happening? And that sent me into a little bit of a panic. I was just like, I have no control over anything. I have no idea what's going on. And I think that kind of inspired the song, is just the idea of control, and how at the end of the day, the grand scheme of life in the universe, we really don't control anything. Like, you can plan all you want, but we have no real control over everything that happens in life. So that kind of inspired that song. It was kind of talking about myself and how, I want to control, I want this, but I can't let it go, but I kind of have to, because life is what it is. And that's kind of how that whole one came to be. It was definitely at the beginning of the pandemic when I wrote that one.
Do you think that you would see yourself writing for other people? Them taking your work and writing, And who would you like as artists? Who would you like to see sing some of your music?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. You know what I think I always thought would be kind of interesting would be to write for male artists, because a lot of my songs, I mean, from my point of view, so a lot of it is about my life and being a woman and everything. So being able to just kind of like switch that up and kind of write from a man's perspective, I think would be interesting. So if there was like, I'm trying to think if there was like a specific artist that would be just like, I'm trying to think of a male artist that I listen to a lot lately. A lot of them are rappers, but I'm like, I don't really think I could write rap. So I don't know if I would go that route, but just in general though, some artists that I do love and I think would kind of suit my style. I think Demi Lovato is amazing. Her voice is crazy.
I can see that.
Love her. Who else do I really like? Normani, I love. I think she's fantastic. And her dancing is just like ridiculous. Who else do I really like? I mean, ultimate dream would be Rihanna. That's like my queen. If I could do something with her, that would be amazing. Or if I did do something with a guy or a rapper, if it was like Drake or J Cole, but I like wrote the hook or something and they rapped, maybe that could be cool. That would be amazing. That would be like bucket list.
Oh, definitely. I hope that happens for you. I really do. I hope that happens for you. I'm sending those vibes to you.
Thank you.
Getting back to something Leslie was saying before, because your sound, I can't, like, do you have that issue where people listen to you and they try to put you with somebody else, but they're having a problem, but they can't, because your sound sounds different. It sounds more, if we want to call it original, it sounds more original. It doesn't sound like you sound like somebody else. It sounds like you sound like yourself.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that's a huge compliment. Appreciate that. I think, I have heard that before when people are like, oh yeah, I guess you kind of could maybe be like, I mean, I said Demi Lovato, so people have used that. They're like, yeah, your style's kind of like that. I mean, you don't sound like her, but kind of, or like your style's kind of maybe like Tori Kelly, or maybe like, so I think they kind of just take women of a similar age group and that kind of do like a pop R&B vibe, I guess, and they kind of say, oh yeah, you're like that, and I'm just like, I mean, I love those women, so I'll take it, sure, that's a compliment, but I'm like, I don't know if I really sound like them, but I mean, they're great, so I'll take it, sure. But they do that though, a lot of sounds like, and they put someone there.
Have you ever thought about writing for K-pop or anything like that?
Oh my gosh. So bringing it back to 2020 again, when I had some downtime, I got into K-pop and BTS and Blackpink and like and EXO and all these different bands and groups. I was like, where has this been? Like,
yes, exactly.
Where have I been? Oh my gosh. And because obviously BTS has been, popping off crazy in the US, and I obviously knew who they were, but I didn't really dig in. And I was like, there's so many members, 7 people. That's huge. That's a huge group. And then I was like, that's a thing in K-pop. They have very big groups apparently. But I was like, oh, I love it. I mean, if I learned Korean or if I was able to somehow write with someone who speaks English and Korean, we could do an English-Korean mashup mix dual language song. I mean, that would be amazing, because I've really gotten into K-pop in the last year. So it's like, that would be so fun.
I highly recommend NCT and Wavy, by the way.
Okay, I've heard of NCT. I've heard of them. Okay, yes.
SM Entertainment, who actually is, I believe, run or has president is Teddy Riley from Demonologist. So definitely look into them. But I think that I can actually hear your music being sung in Korean and performed and everything. That was like the first thing that I thought about when I was listening to your music before. I was like, oh, I can hear this being like a K-pop.
That would be awesome.
Song. So I'm gonna play one more song before we let you go. You can choose which one you want everyone to hear.
Ooh, okay. A song that I actually really enjoy is Blood in the Water, and I did a music video for that as well, so you can go on YouTube and check that out if you want. But yeah, so let's do that one, Blood in the Water.
All right, and tell us what was your inspiration for Blood in the Water, why that is your favorite.
Yeah, so this one is actually, I also wrote this during quarantine, and it's kind of, I guess, a bit of a darker tone, but it's a bit more talking about like mental health and the struggles that people have and that I've had, talking about, you know, the idea of you're trying to just live your best life and move forward and be happy. But then there's always that like voice in the back of your head that's like just telling you like, but like waiting for the other shoe to drop, or like, oh, shouldn't you be upset about this thing? Or like, aren't you worried about that thing? And just kind of finds a way to just kill your joy. And you're trying to be like, no, like, go away. I'm trying to be happy. I don't need you bringing me down. And then it's like, but wait, I'm still here. Like, da da da, and just kind of like ruining it. So that's kind of what it's about. Like the idea of blood in the water is like you'll hear me say in the song, it's like you smell blood in the water. And it's basically like that entity trying to kill your happiness just smells like, wait a minute, she's trying to be happy. No, we're not going to do that. And then comes in and messes everything up. So that was the kind of idea of that. It's kind of more like symbolic.
That's deep. That's deep. Well, let's watch you sing this song.
Awesome. Thanks.
Welcome.
When you spend enough time living in the weeds, you forget how to breathe, you forget how to come. When your life in your mind is you on your knees, you forget what you need, you forget how to home. And every time you accomplish a deed, life is sweet with some ease, and someone saying no. You try to keep me under, one thing after another. It's like you smell blood in the water, trying to see who will falter first. I'm not falling for that again. You were selling me dreams, hoping that I would buy it. Almost had me convinced, no, I won't deny it. Like an animal, you brought me out for emotional slaughter. 'Cause you smell blood in the water. 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 Wanna say what's on your mind, but they won't understand. Will they give you a hand, or will they say suck it up? You keep it all in, who will come and collect it? Silently expecting the other shoe to drop. Won't let them see you sweat, you just wanna forget scenarios in your head. 'Cause enough is enough. You try to keep me under, one thing after another. It's like you smell blood in the water, trying to see who will falter first. I'm not falling for that again. Selling me dreams, hoping that I would buy it. Almost had me convinced, no, I won't deny it. Like an animal, you brought me out for emotional slaughter. 'Cause you smell blood in the water. You smell blood in the water. Blood in the water. Blood in the water. Oh, I won't let you stay no more, 'cause I'm not your prey no more. Oh, it's a new day, I'm sure. Trying to drown me, run with it, but now I know how to swim, so you're torn, torn, torn.
Wow.
Wow.
That line, like an animal, you brought me out for emotional slaughter, that just took me places.
Yay, thank
That
you.
was really excellent. I
Thank
heard
you.
country in that, country music.
It's so funny. People have told me that before in other songs. Like I have a song called Good Enough, which in terms of just like emotional connection is one of the ones people have told me they really connect to a lot. And people have said, they're like, it almost sounds like you could do country. And I'm like, I mean, I'm open to it. Let's go. Why not?
And that, let me tell you something, much representation of this in country music.
Yes.
It's starting to be there, but the thing
It
is
is.
a lot of Black music has been the progenitor of what we now know as country music. And so I think that honestly, I love that song. I could hear that being a country song.
I have to do a
Definitely.
remix, maybe. Might have to look into a little
Yeah.
country remix.
I think so. I even saw like, a whole country video too. Like,
Oh,
people
let's
I
talking
gotta
about
agree,
it.
guys. I was sitting there going, dude, this is a Western waiting to
that's a
happen.
Western. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I can just see the cowboy running, often in some kind of gun battle and there's
Yes.
pouring the water.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I
Oh,
saw,
see,
I
now
saw
I'm
a
getting
vengeful.
visual.
I saw a vengeful woman, a woman who was named
Ooh,
after a
even
man
better.
who did
Look
something
at
to
that.
her. Yes,
Ooh,
that's
Still
what
I
I
like that.
saw.
gospel,
I like that even more. If I just re-sang it with a little bit more twang, yep.
Yeah, definitely saw
I could hear it. I could hear it.
Well, Megan, it has been an utmost pleasure having you on the show
Thank you
today.
so much. It was so nice to talk to you both. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I can't wait to see what happens with your career. we're definitely going to stay in touch with you
Yes, yes, please.
and probably have you come back on the show again.
That'd be great.
But oh wow, just great music. It really is.
Thank you.
And let me tell you something, there is nothing like you.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. I really appreciate
Oh,
that. Thank you so much.
you're very, very welcome. All right, we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Pick up some donuts for me, girl.
Yes, I will. I'm going to take some on the way out.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
That is
All
just
right.
a great sound. Oof.
Yeah, her side is just it's really, really unique. There is nothing like that. I really like it. I mean, I already was visualizing, country music artist, all that other kind of stuff. Hi, what's up, mommy? How you doing?
And making
So-
time.
Oh, look at her, so creative. You have to do something for the show one day.
I have the
Definitely
rate she's
have to-
going. She's definitely going to do something for the
You're
show.
gonna have to do something for
Yeah.
the show. So we're gonna bring in our next guest, which is Elizabeth J. REKAB, and I hope I'm saying her name the correct way.
You are. If I
REKAB?
remember the way she told me, yeah.
So she's a young adult author who has probably created everything from the writing spectrum. But what she does basically focus on is more of like I think it's a supernatural fantasy science fiction type of macabre type of writing. And it's very, very unique. I'm going to have you actually bring up some of her stuff. But she also is a girl from Illinois. Wow, these Midwesterners are kicking it today. I'm telling you. Yes. And she's not close. She's not far from me. She's from Chicago. I'm from Alton, which is Southern Illinois, and St. Louis, which is about 5 hours away. So yeah, she's from very close. I'm so proud of these Midwesterners. Anyway, let's bring her in and let's talk about some of her work. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Hi. Thank you for waiting in the wings.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I saw the cover of your books. I've not actually,
Yeah.
I don't know very much about you. So I need to, this is why we have you on the interview. So that people can learn a little bit more about who you are. But the graphics, I was like,
Yeah,
ooh.
she picked some amazing graphics to showcase those books. Especially the the most latest one, the one that has that Ghostbusters feel to it. I was
The
like,
Ghost
"Ooh,
Junkies.
there you go, the
Yes.
Ghost Junkie." Oh,
Yeah.
Listen, that's
Yeah.
the first that I wanted to pick up that book and read it immediately when I saw it.
Yay. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's definitely my style of book. That's my style of genre. So tell us a little bit about how you got started, what was your inspiration to becoming a writer, being from the Midwest and being from Illinois? I think she's frozen. think we
I
got her
think she's frozen too.
Well, at least she has a cute face, so she's frozen. She has a
Well,
smile
that's
on her
good.
face.
What I'll do over here while we have her on the side there until she comes
Okay,
back is
let's bring in her stuff.
I'll find her stuff and I'll put it up.
Okay.
Let's see what we got here. Let's start with her.
My chair keeps
There we
falling
go.
down.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, let's bring this in.
Speaking of which, there is there goes the Ghost Junkies. It just looks amazing. The cover is just beautiful, and I have to admit, just caught my attention as soon as I saw it.
Can we pull up a bigger graphic? Oh, go below.
Yeah,
there
sure.
it is, right there.
Yeah.
Yes. Ghost Junkies.
There we go.
Wow, look at that. Here she
And
is.
it's so funny because when the book when this whole release happened, she was like, "Oh, we'll get it for 99 cents." I was like, 99 cents? What the?
Oh, it's on sale for 99 cents on Amazon?
Yeah.
What? Oh, I'm definitely getting this book. And it's my time of the year to be reading these kind of books. I
definitely.
myself reading these kind of books in October.
It was so funny. I was like, we're starting on September 25th. That's right before we do our whole October extravaganza. Why not start with Elizabeth and get into the feeling already?
Yes. Elizabeth, can you tell us a little bit about this book?
Yes, absolutely, I can. So this book was a lot of fun for me to write. Mainly because number one, it's set in the 90s, which was, I was a 90s kid. I was an 80s baby, a 90s kid, pure millennial. And it was so much fun digging into, okay, back when, before smartphones were a thing and boy bands were all the rage. And, we had CDs, no one's heard of an MP3. We had, dial up. And it was so much fun going back into that. And then having the added layer of, okay, I've got the nostalgia and I've also got my favorite, paranormal, ghost, spooky stuff. So it was so much fun for me to write. This is honestly one of my favorites. And it is, I wanted to release it kind of right when people are starting to get into that spooky kind of mood. Halloween is right around the corner, fall is starting. So yeah, and it's gotten some really great feedback, some great reviews so far, which always makes my heart happy every time I read a positive review. So yeah, people seem to be enjoying it, and I love that. Every single time someone tells me they enjoy one of my books, it makes my day. So
I can't wait to read it. I really can. I have a lot of books that I have to review, and I want to say this to all of our audience members out there. I am still reviewing your books, so don't worry. We will have a show where I've reviewed your books.
Oh,
it's just been a great
thank you.
But I would love to review this book. So what has been your writing influencers, inspirations? I know you just said that you're a child of the 90s. So I am a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, all of those shows.
Oh yeah.
I literally at my job every Friday have a session where we discuss Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. We're revisiting those episodes and we watch it. So can you tell me if this is part of the influences and what was the influences in the past that made you be the type of writer that you are?
Absolutely. So yes, I'm a huge fan of the Whedonverse. I loved Buffy. I loved Angel. I was addicted to both of those shows. And in addition to that, what really kind of got me into writing and reading was way back in the day, my mom used to sit down with my brother and I, and we would take turns reading aloud from Goosebumps, R.L. Stine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that and the scary stories to tell in the dark. So those were what really got me started and what kind of fueled my love of just these kind of fun little creepy stories. And and it grew from there. I was big into R.L. Stine, and then I started reading, Christopher Pike and Spooksville, and eventually I graduated to like Stephen King. But always kind of gravitated toward paranormal. But yeah, I see. I also have a little bit of the sci-fi influence. That didn't come until I got a little bit older. I got into sci-fi as I got a little bit older, but yeah, as a kid, I loved the ghost stories. I always did. My very first story that I ever wrote, I want to say I was like maybe 9 or something, and I had this little picture book called The Ghost at Gurney Mills because I grew up in Chicago, Gurney Mills Mall,
Yeah.
there. And it was complete with these little horrible illustrations. And that was my first story that I ever wrote.
Let me just say this about the Midwest as a whole, and somebody who was born and raised in the Midwest. It is a spooky place. There's so much history there. And I would say probably much more than a lot of other places because of the fact that it is heavily indigenous land. And so there's a lot of indigenous things that are in the land itself. Plus you talk about the people that came in the early 1800s, the settlers, the storylines at the mobsters in Chicago.
Right. Yes.
And there's so much going on there. It's just a hotbed of paranormal influence. And so it doesn't surprise me that you're being from Illinois, you would write this kind of stuff. What is,
Yes.
what can I ask you, what do you feel right now that's out there that is what you think is really good paranormal content?
Ooh.
Scary content, something that you say, oh wow, I'm inspired by that even today, even as a writer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, some of the more, modern shows that have come out within the past few years that I absolutely love, obviously Stranger Things. I'm a huge fan of Stranger Things. The Haunting of Hill House is one of my favorite horror series of all time. There's some really good stuff out there right now. And I like things that are kind of more things that go bump in the night type of horror. I'm not, and nothing against slasher films and things like that, but I tend to gravitate more towards, the things that you can't necessarily see or the creature type things, to me, that just tends to be a little bit scarier, because you're like, oh, what did I just hear? Like,
Yeah.
what was that? What's in my house right now?
Yeah. Have you ever watched any of the YouTube footage that has to do with the paranormal and ghost in particular? Because there's a lot of good content out there, that real authentic stuff going on.
Yeah, I used to be a fan of shows like Ghost Hunters, back when it was still new, and no one had really seen the kind of ghost hunting stuff on TV before, so it was a very kind of novel concept at the time, and I'm very fascinated by things that you can't necessarily explain, things that you can't necessarily see, because I feel like everybody has had, whether they know it or not, everybody's had something in their life that they've gone, maybe I just had a paranormal experience and didn't realize it, and it's kind of those questions that it leads to in your mind that kind of lend some inspiration for books like these.
Do you ever scare yourself while you're writing these books?
Sometimes, yeah, because it's I've had, a couple personal paranormal type experiences, and for me though, there's always kind of a curiosity there too, and that's kind of my books are kind of more like the what if of the paranormal, or what if, like for my story Haunt, what if we have this teenage ghost who's trapped in his house and can't leave and no one can see him, and for Ghost Junkies, what if we have a girl who discovers that she's a ghost seer and that she can kind of get this kind of high off of going into the realm that the ghosts come from. And
Ooh.
so it's very much kind of all these what if scenarios of the paranormal. So not necessarily scaring me, but hopefully scaring others more, because so if that makes sense.
It makes so much sense because, I know that, as Leslie as well, we've had experiences where things have happened, especially, in the haunting type of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I find a lot of people who do have these experiences are the ones going, let me tell you a story.
Yes.
And then we tend to tell these ghost stories because, it's something that's happened to us. And then we find it fascinating. And like Leslie was saying, I find all those ghost shows fascinating. I find like before I was way more into them than I am now, but it was still this whole thing of, I love a good ghost story. I love hearing a tale of what's going on with these ghosts that we've caught glimpses of, because your imagination just starts to completely run away with you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I had and one experience I had in my childhood, just something I couldn't explain, was where I felt someone sit on my bed behind me, and I looked over my shoulder and there was nobody there, but it's it's a very distinctive feeling, like if somebody is sitting on a mattress, because it depresses, right? You kind of roll roll toward it a little bit. And I remember feeling distinctly someone sitting on my bed behind me, and I looked over my shoulder, seeing nobody. And as a child, I covers over the head and I sit there like this and I sat there until I felt the mattress go back up, like someone stood up, and then, someone walking could hear footsteps on the carpet. And that was like my, my brush kind of with what I don't know if it was paranormal or not, but I just know that to this day I have no explanation for it. And again, that kind of, it gets the gears in your mind going, like, well,
Oh
what
yeah.
did I experience, and stories, and what stories can I tell, that are kind of in the same vein of what happened to me.
I think that I honestly feel like ghosts choose people who can tell their stories.
Yeah.
And the majority of us who have had such encounters usually relay those stories or do something that highlights those stories.
Mhm.
And when you have an encounter such as that, you can only tell it in a story manner, because you want
Right.
somebody to have the same effect that it had on you when you explain it to them. You want them to feel the
Right.
same way. There is this certain type of energy that you get from telling these type of stories that is like none other. Maybe it's like riding a roller coaster or driving in a fast car. There's something about ghost stories, the supernatural, the paranormal, that does that to us as a people,
Right.
and there are people that don't like roller coasters, and there are people that don't like to drive fast, but for those of us who do like it, we love ghost stories.
Yes, absolutely. And funny you should say roller coasters, because I'm actually becoming more of a chicken the older that I get.
I think we all do. You start saying, listen, your mortality starts looking at you in the face, and you're like, nah, I don't think that I could be just,
I was 100% more brave as a teen. I can
Yeah.
tell you that much. Not anymore.
Same here. Yeah. There's times where I sit there going, how am I still alive?
How did I make it this far?
Exactly.
How did I? You were a lot more hardier back in those days.
Oh,
You are definitely much more hardier than the children today. I will say
Yeah.
that. Some of the stuff
Yeah.
that we did was just unbelievable, and we survived it.
Insane.
Yes.
It's true.
So Elizabeth, who would you, go ahead, Ron.
I was going to ask you, because I know that I found you on TikTok, and I love the content you were putting up on TikTok, and I'm still working the whole TikTok experience myself and trying to figure out how I like it. Right now, I just put whatever I want whenever I want to, and if I have a thought in my head, it pops onto TikTok. How have you made this work for you? Because I find it interesting that we're such a verbal type of storytelling, and I know that it kind of works if you are a storyteller as well, because you can tell a story. How are you finding working TikTok to your benefit?
Yeah. So, when I first started on TikTok, I very much felt like, there's that running joke about, the millennials on TikTok that don't know what they're doing. And I felt that because it took me a while to kind of get dialed into what all the different, like what is this newfangled thing that all the kids are doing these days, but but then I started to have fun with it, and I would just, kind of start paying attention to what trends are happening, and what kind of sound bites are becoming popular. And the TikTok, it's fun, and it can be a very powerful marketing tool, but it is tough to find your audience and to gear your videos in the right way without coming across like you're being too salesy. And so so it's kind of a balance with TikTok, and I'm still kind of trying to build up my following there, and kind of dial into the right audience. But it's been fun. I'm enjoying the learning curve. I'm enjoying coming up with silly little videos, little sound bites. So yeah.
My question to you, okay, and Ralph, you got to pull up some of her TikTok, right?
Yeah, I can pull it up right now. Hold on.
Right. My question to you is, do you know that TikTok is haunted?
Is haunted? No.
Yes. So the new thing is that there is a whole thing called haunted TikTok, where people are actually capturing things while they're doing like dance challenges and stuff like that. I mean, I totally encourage you to watch some of these videos. I don't know what it is about
I'm
TikTok.
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, you have to.
Definitely
the
gonna
things
watch.
that people have captured in TikTok videos is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I had no idea. That is wow.
And
wow.
I just started on TikTok recently. I have a couple of things that I'm starting on TikTok for. I have another thing where I have a cat thing that I'm doing. a community cat thing that I'm doing that I've actually put on TikTok, which actually has gotten a great following. But
Nice.
one of the reasons why I decided at first that I did not want to touch TikTok, and we're actually going to start doing it for the Tingling Tea, by the way, Ralph, which is another show that we do about the paranormal. The interesting thing about it is I refused to join TikTok because I said there's something in that program that is capturing paranormal footage, or at least releasing something into the atmosphere, the energy behind it that's releasing something in the atmosphere for people to have this many encounters on TikTok.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Sorry about that.
All right,
no
so
worries.
we're going to show one of her TikTok videos. But yes, Elizabeth, you definitely have to check it out. There's plenty of things. If you go on YouTube, you can look up haunted TikTok and stuff like that, things that people have found on TikTok.
I'll be looking over my shoulder now every time I record one.
Some paranormal experts are saying the thing is that we're constantly recording ourselves now. So the stuff that was constantly happening that we weren't paying attention to is being recorded.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It does. Because the more you put your screens on things, the more we seem to be catching.
Yeah, but
that makes sense. Yeah.
And I think that is what it is because TikTok is so popular right now, and it's just little snippets of footage that you put there that it's capturing things. But I'm telling you, it's amazing what you're going to find on there. So let's pull up some of your TikToks.
It was funny that you guys were talking about Angel and Spike, and I found the Spike appreciation thing over here.
Okay, let's please watch that because I am a bigger fan of Spike.
All right, here we go.
I'll find out that everybody's house. There he is! There's my favorite white boy! It started with a whisper, and now it's been a kiss. I'll find out.
Listen, I love me some Spike, girl. I'm with you on that.
He was my favorite character on Buffy, hands down, and Angel.
And Angel was too, but I have to tell you now that I'm rewatching it at an older age because I watched it in the 90s, and I think that I was more enamored with Angel and who Angel was. But as a woman who is nearly 60 years old, close to, I am loving me some Spike, and I am starting to see all the innuendos of who he is as a person.
Yes.
And we're just right now at season 5 of Buffy, where we're watching where Spike is professing his love to Buffy, and I'm not trying to give any. I'm going to spoiler alert everybody. So yes, this is going to happen if you have never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm loving everything about him, and there's a part recently where Angel came back after. There's a particular episode that happens in the storyline where Angel comes back to console a grieving Buffy. And I was like, Angel who? That's exactly how I was like. I was like, Angel who? He could go back to LA. He could go back to LA.
And I did enjoy Angel a lot more as a character once he was on his own show, because then it kind of felt like more in his element.
Yes.
But in general, I don't know why, but I am very much drawn to those kind of snarky character types. And I very much like a good redemption story, so those are two things I'm very much drawn to. And Spike very much had both of those elements. He was always snarky and witty and had the best lines. And then he also had this great, storyline, this great redemption arc. So it was
also
good.
A little pervy too. Let's admit it.
He had a
little pervy that shouldn't.
Let's admit it. In real life, you would know better than to be like, oh yeah, let's go there. But it's as a fictional character, it's a fascinating character.
Yeah, his creative arc was amazing. Not to mention the way that he portrayed that character. That's James Marsden, I think that's his name.
Yeah, Marsters. Yep.
Marsters. He actually was such a good actor that every scene that he was on there with, especially too when he was in there anything with Drusilla, they ate up the scene. They ate it up.
Yes. And he, I met him at a couple conventions. Actually, I met him at MEGHAN. And it's funny because you forget that he's not British. Because he did such a good accent, and he's like got just this kind of just regular old California American accent. You're like, how are you not British?
That always bugs me out when somebody you expect a certain accent to come from their mouth, and then they talk regular, and you're like, what the?
Yes.
He was amazing.
Yes.
He was amazing. So we could go on and have a love Buffy and Angel Fest
Oh
all
my
we
God.
want to, a
Yes.
love fest all we want
Yes.
to. But I want to ask you, out of all of the books that you have created, which is your favorite and why?
Ooh.
Oh gosh, I do love all my books for different reasons. I'm about to finish up a third in trilogy. That's my next one coming out in the Everhaven series. But oh gosh, as far as which one is my favorite,
Ralph, can you
I
actually pull up some of her books for me, please?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
just go back to our website.
Yeah.
Go
Go
right ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, well, I have so I have a soft spot for the one that just came out. I loved the Ghost Junkies because of the nostalgia factor and it was so much fun. But I have a special soft spot for my book Haunt because I just connected with the characters so much while I was writing it. And, it was the characters I grew to love them. I rooted for them as the author. Yeah. And it was just
Haunt
kind of
is the one
identifying with these
with the
uh
teenager trapped in the house.
that's the one. That one, yes. This one is definitely the one I have a soft spot for out of all of my books.
Oh.
Because it's kind of this kind of love story between two people that obviously things are a little tough. One is a ghost and one is not. One is a psychic medium that moves into his home. And Haunt is the character who his name is Eugene Haunt. He's kind of this a little nerdy, but he's super sweet and he's trapped in his house and he can't speak to his parents. They can't see him. And he's essentially alone. And then Marty's family, she's the female main character. She moves into his house. She's a psychic medium. And finally, someone can speak to him after 2 years of him not being able to speak to anybody. And the story just kind of goes from there. And we've got, this demon entity that's attached to Marty. And Jean has to learn how to fight back for her sake to help her. And I just really loved how the characters developed in this story. So if I had to pick one out of my books, this is probably my favorite.
That book cover
Yeah.
is so it's so compelling.
It's haunting. It's romantic. It captures everything.
Yeah, and the same artist that did this one actually did my Ghost Junkies cover as well. So I have to give a shout out to her. Her name is Kelly at Sleepy Fox Studio. She's an incredibly talented artist. And she gave me exactly what I asked for on both of those covers. So kudos to Kelly.
So I'm going to tell you, Elizabeth, that's the first book I'm going to read of yours is Haunt.
I was going to say, Elizabeth.
Wow.
Thank you. When you get a chance, just put the link to your artist friend on the side and in the comments, and that way people can go look for her.
Oh, yeah. I could totally do that.
This book is just, it looks so beautiful. And that was the first thing that I was actually drawn to, that and Ghost Junkies. So I was drawn to the cover immediately, which made me want to pick up the book and read and see what was inside of it. And now that you told me the story behind this, I definitely want to read this. I mean, something just happened in my heart when you were telling me the story.
Yeah.
So I have to, I feel attached to it. So now I've got to read it. Thank you.
Yes. And I really appreciate that. And it was, I definitely grew so attached to those characters. I grew to love them. Like they actually, lived with me, and I was just telling their story. So it definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Now, have you ever thought about doing any collabs with anybody? And if you did, who do you want to collab with?
Good question.
That is a very, very good question. I am an indie author myself, and there are so many other indie authors that I have made friends with through TikTok that have books that are very that are kind of a similar genre to mine. So as far as other indies go, Nicole McCarran is one, and Marissa Noel is another one. And another, I believe she's indie too, but her books have gotten a lot of popularity as E.E. Holmes. She writes the Gateway, the Gateway trilogy, and her books are amazing. And she had something really nice to say about one of my books, so I kind of geeked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, she had something nice to say.
That's always amazing, man.
What did she say? What did she say?
Yeah, so she read Everhaven, and she gave me a nice little blurb. I don't have the exact quote with me, but it was very favorable, and I immediately plastered it up onto my Amazon page, because I have to showcase that because she's amazing. She's very talented. So of course, I would love to work with anybody like that. A collaboration would be amazing, and I mean, obviously, if I'm really going all out, I mean, like a Stephen King collaboration. But come on, he's like, he's be like the second.
No. Oh my God! What a
Richest author in the world
cliffhanger.
behind J.K. Rowling, probably.
Behind J.K. Rowling's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
You're getting the gist of it. There we go.
Elizabeth, which one of these? Which one of? Yeah, that's okay. We were like, oh my gosh, we were hanging on your every word. So, what is now? This is one more question I have to ask you before we go for the day. Which one of these do you want to see as a film?
Ooh.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is a very hard question. But I will say that if I had to pick one to be actually turned into a film, I would probably say Everhaven, just because there's going to be a lot more material to use for like, a movie or a movie series, because it's a trilogy. The third book is coming out in November. So yeah, and that one has a lot of world building too, because it starts in this creepy little claustrophobic town, kind of with a cult. Everybody kind of worships in like this cult-like thing, and it's very stuffy and stifling, and there's a lot of world building, a creepy underworld. So I could see that being more visual, like for to be developed into a different type of media there. So, and that one does have an audiobook as well.
Ooh.
I love that. Oh, okay. I love that. So that. I love listening to audiobooks on long road trips. So yes. I'm definitely going to have to
Especially
download that one.
Stories, Leslie. So now you got two aspects there.
Oh, I terrify myself all the time on long road trips.
It's going to be looking in the back seat.
I did a road trip all by myself, going from St. Louis to New York, and I listened to actually The Demonologist by Ed Warren, and I was driving through the hills and the mountains of Pennsylvania, and I was terrified, and I couldn't turn it off.
Ed Warren, like the couple, like Ed and Lorraine Warren from The Conjuring and everything. Okay,
exactly.
Yes. Yeah. It was a story written about all of their cases, and I was listening to it on a road trip at night, going through the hills and mountains of Pennsylvania, the curving roads of Pennsylvania, and I just was like, I was terrified.
Wow. Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, especially if you're driving desolate roads at night, and you've got I'd definitely be looking over my shoulder.
I like roller coasters and fast rides. So there you go.
There you go.
And those cases aren't nothing to laugh at either. This is some major cases.
Scary. No. So when you write these, do you feel inspired and you just continue to write? Because I know a lot of people get writer's block, and I want to know, what is it that causes you to continue to write, to sit down and be dedicated to that? It's a very hard thing to do.
The thing that keeps me writing the most is, I don't have a massive following built up yet by any means, but I have built up a small yet loyal base of readers. And so I'm just thinking about them and about getting out more that they can enjoy, and more worlds that they can delve into, and hopefully, expand on my reader base from there. And I definitely have no shortage of ideas. My problem is I wish I had more brains, more hands, more time to write quicker, because I'm always kind of wanting to get to that next story. So the quicker I can write, the quicker I can get, to that next story or that sequel or whatever needs to be told.
I completely feel you, because that's the same way I am with the writing. I'm constantly, all these ideas are bombarding me at the same time. I always tell people I don't have writer's block. I got writer's flow, which is really hard, because you're always trying to, okay, wait, we're working on this story, but I want to do this over here, and I want to do that over there. And it gets so hard to focus on that one story, because your brain is constantly going, and you're like, no, we got to finish over here.
Yeah, it's true. And that happens to me a lot, because I'm like, okay, you've got to stay focused, because this is your next book that's coming out. So just put everything else to the side for now. Back burner.
Yes, that each of your characters are wanting you to complete their story so that you can produce them and introduce them to the world.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being on the show with us today. I cannot wait to read these books and give like a little, a review on the books and stuff. This is totally my genre. And I'm going to start with Haunt first because of
That's
the
the one that's
storyline you
calling
just told
to
me.
you. Yeah.
That's the one that spoke
My
to me.
favorite.
Yeah. And we definitely want to have you back again and possibly have you on maybe one of our other shows that we do, because we all do other content.
Exactly.
So we would love to have you come back and talk about stuff, and maybe have you come on the Tingling Tea and help us debunk some paranormal footage.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast. I would love to.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun on that show. So with that being said, thank you so much, Elizabeth. We can please go like, subscribe, buy her content. You all buy what she has created. She is on Amazon. Go to her Facebook page, her Instagram, and her TikTok, and support her. Support the creative, you all, and make sure you support Elizabeth and her writing. It's beautiful writing. If you like this type of genre, please do that. And I would say also gift it to kids, teenagers, because it is something that she writes for.
Definitely.
that group. Gift it to your nieces, your daughters, all of them that love this type of content. All right.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been so much fun, and I look forward to doing it again.
We're looking forward to having you back.
Definitely. We like you. We like your stuff. And it was fun. So
absolutely.
Definitely fun. All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. Well, Ralph, that's it for the end of the day. We did go a little bit over today, but I mean, it was worth it for our first time coming back, and we had some really great artists.
First time coming back, and all these amazing artists. I do want to let you guys know that we're looking at moving to Mondays at 7:30. So, we won't be here on Saturdays. And October is going to be an October spectacular moment with some of our favorite haunted writers and storytellers coming back to spectacular you.
Yeah, we might even have like a little special show where we do some little haunted readings.
Ooh.
Let's see. So with that being said, we will see you all next Saturday. We're looking to move to Monday nights in October. So just want to let you all know that's what we're trying to do, is move to October. And, one of the reasons why we're trying to move is because we all are very busy. We have families. So Saturday is a little bit difficult for the majority of us to kind of pull off. But Monday nights, we think will really, you're going to like it. It's great to have something to look forward to coming off of a weekend, wouldn't you say?
Especially to make your Mondays so much better, because like Garfield says, Mondays. We will let you know. I'm not sure if our show Saturday will be Saturday or if our show will be Monday, but I will make sure to let you know in the plethora of different things that we use to get in touch with you.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's next Saturday is October 1st, right?
Yeah, that's why.
Oh no, we'll be on Monday next. We'll be on Monday, October 1st. Be looking for us to be on Monday at 7:30.
Yep. Monday, October 3rd at 7:30, and I already have an interesting show set up, but I'm not gonna tell you right now.
All right. Look for it. All right, you all. Thank you so much for joining us today here on Apple Bites, and we will see you Monday, October the 3rd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good to see you, Rob. And thanks for making a great show today. And thanks to all of our guests for making a really wonderful show today. Please make sure that you all go and you follow them, support their content and do whatever it needs to do. This is what we're here for, to support the creative. And we ask that you as our audience do the same. Take care.